The DingShrBaZhang, or fixed-eight palms, created by BaGuaZhang founder Dong Haichuan and his youngest disciple Liang BaGuaZhang, is traditionally the first form taught to beginner students. This comprehensive Qigong set is comparatively simple to learn, and the practice of it allows for rapid student development in areas such as circle walking, postural alignment, and the understanding of nuanced muscular connections. As with all bagua forms, there are many levels of complexity that a student can explore in the fixed-eight palms, the most basic being the root form. There are no fancy transitions or applications in this version of the fixed-eight. Rather, the root form focuses entirely on circle walking with the 8 root palm postures. These postures are pressing ball palm, holding heaven palm, holding moon palm, draw heaven and poke earth palm, lion holds ball palm, holding spear palm, yin-yang swing fish palm, and push rice mill palm. The first posture of the fixed-eight is the pressing ball palm. This most basic position starts with the alignment of the head, neck, and spine. As the top of the head, or bai hui, stretches up, the spine hangs in suspension all the way to the perineum, or hui yin. The umbilicus gently draws to the spine, keeping the pelvis in alignment, as the palms press gently to the ground. What makes press ball palm is a dynamic tension between the muscles of the back and chest. While the scapula splay laterally, the clavicles gently pull together. If this is done without raising the shoulders, the effect becomes a gentle rounding of the chest that enables the arms to create the correct circular shape for the press ball palm. The practice of pressing the hands in pressing ball palm mimics the pressing of the feet in bagua stepping, and serves to impart on new students the importance of relaxing and settling weight downward. The relative lack of complexity also makes pressing ball palm a fantastic opportunity to focus on the nuances of stepping without fancy form work getting in the way. The second posture of the fixed-eight is the holding heaven palm. Whereas pressing ball palm focused on pushing down, hold heaven palm does the opposite and lifts. However, even given the obvious differences in stance, there are significant similarities between these two palm postures. The top of the head at bai hui still lifts, and the perineum at hui yin sinks, elongating the spine. The scapula splay to the sides, and the clavicles draw together, as the umbilicus draws to the lumbar spine. The act of raising the arms is achieved by drawing the paraspinal muscles downwards, like a suspension bridge, and engaging the lats, as the shoulders remain relaxed. Once the arms are up, the elbows drop, as the fingertips stretch away from the body. The palms stay level to the ground, such that you could hold a small amount of water at Lao Gong. The practice of hold heaven palm can be quite challenging for new students, as the act of holding the arms out at shoulder height is not easy. It's my recommendation that new students take time with this challenging posture, as unlocking the ability to hold up the arms without overtaxing the shoulders is instrumental in the practice of all internal kung fu. Next we come to the hold moon palm. As we have already examined pressing down and up in the fixed-eight, hold moon palm focuses on forward pressure. In our school, we refer to this as the Sisyphus palm, as it bears a striking resemblance to the posture one would use to repeatedly push a large rock up a steep hill. As with the previous palms, bai hui lifts, hui yin sinks, the scapula splay to the sides, and the clavicles draw together as the umbilicus pulls to the back. The raising of the arms is once again achieved by drawing the paraspinal muscles downwards and engaging the lats. In order to perform hold moon palm correctly, it is vital that posture is maintained and the shoulders kept relaxed. As with pressing ball, the roundness of the arms is a direct result of the rounding and splaying of the back. There is a feeling of fullness in the space between the hands and chest, almost as though there is a beach ball constantly expanding in all directions within the space. The fingertips are in a line, and all the forward pressure is directed to Lao Gong at the palm. The power of the push has little to do with the arms, and rather is drawn from the lower dantian. This manifests as a feeling of abdominal engagement that acts as a guiding force behind the palm. Next we arrive at the draw heaven, poke earth palm. Draw heaven, poke earth palm is the first example of coiling in the fixed-eight root form. If any single movement defines bagua, it's coiling. This incredibly complex and dynamic action is at the root of every aspect of bagua. Before we begin with the palm, we must once again make sure that Baiwei lifts, Huiyin sinks, the scapula splay, and the clavicles draw together as the umbilicus pulls to the back. To achieve a coiling stretch through the body, it is not enough to simply stretch the arms in opposite directions. There is also a constant engagement of inward rotation with the raised arm, paired with outward rotation in the sinking arm. The tricky part is that the arms can't simply collapse behind the pressure of the stretch and twist. Just as in Hold Moon Palm, there is a rounding beach ball shape in the chest, with just enough space between the arms and armpits to fit a golf ball. The practice of Poke Heaven, Draw Earth Palm can be quite challenging. Maintaining a coil while stretching taxes the shoulders heavily, particularly in the raised arm. Therefore, it's vital for new students to remember that form comes first. When the body becomes too fatigued to maintain proper posture, it's time to move on to the next shape. Next up is Lion Holds Ball. With Lion Holds Ball, we get our first view of rounding and extending in a single shape as we blend the mechanics of Hold Heaven and Hold Moon Palms. Once again, we start by running down our postural checklist. Next, we take a look at the rounded arm. The circular shape of Lion Holds Ball is achieved in the same way as in Hold Moon. On the rounded side, the scapula splay and the clavicle draw slightly towards the center. This results in a roundness in the chest and back. The raised arm acts as a continuation of this rounding and relies heavily on the lats in the side to maintain structure. Next, let's examine the outstretched arm. Just as in Hold Heaven Palm, it's not the shoulder, but rather the paraspinal muscles and the lats that engage to support the structure. Once the arms are up, the elbow drops and the fingertips stretch away from the body. The palms stay level to the ground, such that you could hold a small amount of water at the center at acupoint Lao Gong. In the practice of Lion Holds Ball, one should keep their eyes focused on the arm outstretched towards the center of the circle. The curve of the raised arm draws the far side of the body towards the circle in a sort of arc. The arc extends beyond the shoulder and coils through the hips and all the way into the legs. This motion has an interesting effect on stepping and creates a feeling of constant, subtle, full-body coil around the circle. Next we come to the Holding Spear Palm. At first glance, Holding Spear Palm bears a striking resemblance to the Lion Holds Ball Palm. The only obvious distinction is the angle of the raised arm. However, as we take a closer look, the mechanics of the two postures become quite different. Once again, we start by running down our postural checklist. Next, let's examine the arms. In Holding Spear, both palms are facing up. The shoulders drop as the outstretched elbow sinks. To counter all this downward pressure, there is a feeling of the costal muscles wrapping around the body into the abdomen. This internal coil serves to stabilize the arms, allowing them to brace and press upwards. Continuing with our Greek mythology analogies, I often liken this posture to Atlas holding the earth. The feeling of holding spear is that of holding a heavy object above the head. In order to do this for any length of time, it is necessary to use the whole body. More than with any other of the fixed 8 palms, the proper execution of holding spear is dependent on sinking into the legs and actively utilizing the quadriceps with every step. In the practice of Holding Spear Palm, the eyes once again focus on the outstretched arm as the torso slightly rotates towards the circle, pulling the body around the center. After Holding Spear Palm, we arrive at the Yin-Yang Swimming Fish Palm. The Yin-Yang palm is the only of the fixed 8 palms to focus on an inward pressure from the front and back. The effect of this front-back push is a sensation of wrapping and coiling. We begin by establishing our base posture. Next, let's examine the pose. In Yin-Yang palm, the forward arm is always drawing around the circle. This draw and pull creates a coil that propels the body around the circle. The forward back pressure of the yin-yang posture rapidly overwhelms the deltoids in the shoulder. So to maintain this pose, it becomes necessary to connect into the costal muscles. As the costal muscles engage, a coil then draws into the abs and ultimately sinks to the pelvis. This is important, as one of the greatest challenges facing new students in the practice of bagua is how to connect motion and force from the upper half of the body into the lower. For most beginners, traversing the hips is a mysterious no man's land that takes months or years of study to properly understand. A dedicated practice of yin-yang palm can rapidly accelerate this process, and it's also an awesome low back stretch. At long last, we come to our final posture, the push rice mill palm, often simply called bagua guard. In many ways, push rice mill palm is the culmination of study of the previous 7 palms. This pose is incredibly dynamic. The purpose of push rice mill palm is the redirection of force from the outstretched palm such that it traverses the arms, torso, and legs to end up pushing into the ground. The benefit of practicing push rice mill is that it begins to teach students how to deal with the force of another body without losing one's balance or connection to the ground. As we examine push rice mill, let's begin by establishing our baseline. Next, let's look at the pose. Notice how both palms are pushing out, with the front palm pressing forward as the back palm presses forward and then around the body. Both hands are vital to maintaining the discipline of the shape. The front hand is the initial buffer for impact, as the back hand coils around the torso. This coil connects into our old friends, the costal muscles, abdominals, and pelvis, in much the same way as the yin-yang palm. The effect of this full body integration is a stabilization of the outstretched arm, by drawing from the flexibility and strength of the whole body. In the practice of push rice mill, the eye should be focusing past the outstretched arm as the body turns slightly at the waist as it walks around the circle. So there it is, my first video on the basic postures of the DingShrBaZhang or fixed 8 palms. I hope you find it useful in your practice, and if there's interest, I would be happy to do follow-ups on the palm transitions and applications. Thanks for watching.